well. And it's been really fun watching him work. You may have seen him in some local theater here in the Dakota organization. It's been my pleasure to have him in this class, and you're going to enjoy him. Please put your hands together for Mr. Dave Anderson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard from the cockpit crew. This is your captain speaking. Welcome aboard Cat's Comedy Airline. And yes, you're right, I am a pilot. You know, I spend a lot of time in the airports, and I've been doing this for a long time, flying airplanes. Spent a lot of time up there in the thin air, exposed to radiation, crossing a lot of time zones, losing sleep. So I think over the years it has caused a little trouble with my reasoning. I start to question things like, for example, what happens if you're a pilot and your name is Roger? Does that not get a little confusing? Roger that? What? And okay, why is it Roger? Why couldn't it be Steve? Steve that? Well, maybe not. So over the years, though, we spend a lot of time in the air, but we also spend a lot of time on the ground at the airport, so we get to see a lot of the airport operation. And hey, how about that TSA? Don't you love those guys? Transportation Safety Administration. They do an absolutely amazing job. They are tasked with this formidable task of protecting us from pure evil. Knives, guns, bombs, shampoo bottles, right? So, you know, they got to be built like Superman, right? Have you ever actually looked at these people? Half of them look like they couldn't beat my grandmother in an arm wrestle. And she's been dead for 20 years. But I'm not going to question their strategy for our safety. But I'm starting to think that it has to do with numbers, kind of like the Chinese army attack. As a matter of fact, there's an evidence for that because they are changing the name. It is TSA, but they're keeping the initials, but it's now thousands standing around. Half of these people, you see them wandering through the airports, they're on their cell phones, they're texting people, they're sitting at Starbucks having coffee, on break, I guess, taking selfies, you know, with their handcuffs. I don't know. But, you know, yeah. So, this is one of those pregnant pauses I was warned about in the comedy process. But, they are built like Superman. Yes, and that's right. Oh, but you know what? A lot of people think a lot of people think they know what pilots do, but you assume that we don't have to go through security, right? Because after all, what are these? Right? I can cause a lot of damage with these, right? But no, we do get to go through security, although we don't go through the naked scanner. You know what I'm talking about? Now they say there's a computer that looks at that and there's no human eyes on that, but I don't believe that for a minute. I know there's a couple guys in the back room with their six-pack watching the videos as the people go through. Right, you gotta think that's true. But we also get the pleasure that you all get, which is the chance that you will be selected for that enjoyable experience of the pat down, right? The public groping session. I think another term might be fondling, perhaps. But here's the question, though, right? When that happens, the first word I hear is the one somebody going, male assist. Right now, okay, another human being now is going to fondle me, right? And the law is it has to be a guy. I'm not homophobic, but I could use a little mood music, some soft lighting, maybe, right? And the gentle touch of a female hand. Now, you all think we know a lot about her. What do you need to know to fly an airplane, right? You pull back on the stick, the houses get smaller, right? There's actually an aviation joke that if you keep pulling back on the stick, they start getting big again. But you got to understand physics. Well, we have to understand physics. We have to understand math. We even are experts on the weather. So that, that radiation thing where I'm questioning stuff, it hit me the other day. The weather report said the wind is calm. How can wind be calm? Right? Does that make sense? And does anybody remember, I don't know how long ago it was, but they used to name hurricanes after women. I don't want to offend anybody, but I always thought that was pretty appropriate. But then some genius in another 3-letter government agency decided, oh, no. That is curricular sexual discrimination. We can't just name them after women. So now we have to name them after guys, too. So we have Hurricane Jody, for example, Hurricane David. But now, the latest is they're going to start naming storms, like a weather front. It's going to have a name. What's next? They're going to start naming fog. The air traffic inbound to San Francisco International today was severely impacted by the devastating effects of Fog Bank Fred. I don't know. Another one of my favorite 3-letter agencies is, of course, the FAA. Now, you think that we deal with them all the time, which we do. Now, you guys don't have to deal with the FAA, but you really do. Because every time you get on an airplane and the flight attendant gets up there and says, seat backs and tray tables with roll upright, and all that kind of stuff, they're not making that up. That comes straight from the federal government because they know best. My favorite, though, is make sure you turn off your electronic equipment for takeoff and landing. Your Game Boys, your iPads, iPods, iPhones, all those things, right? Really? Are you telling me, okay, I'm flying the airplane, so you're telling me that my safety depends on this? Now, little Joey, could you please turn your iPad off and stop playing the Angry Birds? The captain's going to land the airplane now, and we don't want to crash now, do we? I said turn it off. I said turn it off. We're dealing with Fog Bank Fred here for crying out loud. Thank you for flying Cat's Comedy Airline today. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened until the captain has brought the act to a complete and total stop and turned off the no frowning sign. Thank you very much.
Dave Anderson. Might recognize him on your next flight, huh? And speaking of electronic devices, if there's anyone that hasn't turned off your cell phone yet, could you please do so? We got 2 more performers, and if you haven't turned off your phones, would you?